Are small businesses going to be treated like real estate? This week got into a really big Codie Sanchez. Her MO is pretty much acquiring small businesses, making it run more efficiently, and creating that inventory with her personal business that kind of is a catch-all. And I started deep diving into it. I just put laundromats for sale. It felt like a Zillow looking for like these owners who are about to retire. So about, yeah, I need to sell and they're giving me X amount. And I'm like, oh snap. It's like becoming a transaction of buying a house versus like how we see like these tech startups doing these massive acquisitions and trade-offs, IPOs, and you're like, oh, this is never gonna happen. But with these small businesses, it makes any individual feeling capable of just buying a business and acquiring it. It kind of I don't want to say it removes the wow aspect of the intimidation factor. This is actually doable if you find the right business and what you want to get into and create that second type of income. The second layer to this is the reason why I started thinking about it is because of the great wealth transfer of the baby boomers starting to retire and these surplus of businesses are getting handed off. And are we going to miss the ride now, or is it gonna be too late than buying it now? And that made me think about it. So, after introducing this topic, what are your thoughts? And I know we've been on it too. You're the one that started this seed, but this week has been bloomed in my mind.
I think I've actually thought about this a couple of years ago where, yes, I have this career in consulting and technology and things like that. But where I think I do really, really well is just really unsexy businesses. Like I'm an ops guy at its core. And a lot of mom and pop businesses don't have really strong operations, but with their terrible operations, they're able to make a living off of it. So there's obviously something there. It's just not optimized yet. And the complexity is nowhere near. Let's start another tech company.
So I'm gonna kind of pause you real quick. So I
Yeah.
want to. You're an ops guy at heart. I'm a blue collar guy at heart. Just again from my upbringing, I it's hard in the tech industry when you're just like I'm just not tech's not tech heavy tech like coding is just not me.
hmm
So, yeah, I just wanted to let have that layer on it there as well. So, yes, continue on your optimization. I always love hearing you talk about this.
The way I think of money, a lot of people are like super bullish on the real estate thing. I think real estate more and more is where you should go put your money, right? A lot of the times when you're watching Bigger Pockets, you're talking to your friends, all this other stuff. You're flowing your income into real estate. And a lot of the times, if it's a really good deal, you're like, dude, I make $100 a door. Okay, let's take a step back. $100 a door. Let's say that you had to buy a property for $500,000, right? And you had to put 10% down, right? That's $50,000 in order for you to return, let's say it's a duplex, $200 a month or $2,400 a year. Not a lot of money that's going to be able to like, let's go throw that into somewhere else and get more property, right? Property is like where you go store your cash. Also, because once it goes into property, you're going to be doing like maybe 1031 exchanges, which allows you to do some tax deferment, things like that. Gets more complex on that side. Or $50,000, throw it into a business. And the range of businesses of what you could do with $50,000 is vast.
Mhm.
But most likely you're going to be making more than $2,400 in profit per year.
Yeah, and then you use that money to whatever next thing, and that's I think that was a piece for me in my grand, like, just journey of financial discovery is that, like, crap, I've been not finding that next earning potential to get to real estate. I just been using my job to feel like I and small micro side hustles to get to real estate versus creating an extra layer of earning potential.
Right.
And that's when it made me like really rethink some things.
So like my financial game plan was buy a property that I could house hack. The reason behind that is if I could live for free, I've gotten rid of my largest fixed expense, right? Which could range from $2,000 to $4,000, depending on how you want to look at it per month. the next thing I do is not buy more property. The next thing I do is buy a business or start a business that can start throwing off cash and then start using that as the machine, right? And so
Mm.
probably by the time that this episode comes out, I should have signed my lease already for
Oh, it's going. You're already
it's
doing it.
going. Yeah, we're talking with a couple of like commercial real estate brokers, and I need to get some final approvals for some of the partners that we're going to be working with, but like it's moving, right? And
Can you make sure you take diligent notes? Because I was like to spend one episode on that, just to be completely honest with you.
after it's all up and going,
Yeah,
I mean,
after
if
after
anything,
it's
I'll
all
film it in that area and be like, all right, so the background's changed because we're gonna do some walkarounds here. But yeah, like if I'm thinking of it now, the upstart cost of that all in, maybe on the high, $60,000. The estimated revenue, the estimated profit, okay, so this is revenue minus expenses equals profit, is $60,000 in the first year. Once it's up and going, it's going to be anywhere between 100 to 200K in profit, and that should be in around 3 years' time. Can something go wrong? Of course it could go wrong. It's starting a business. Things happen to go wrong, but at least those are the projections based off of multiple different people that I know that are already in the industry running very similar businesses. And so going back to what you were saying earlier about, is buying business kind of like buying real estate? Yes, because I think there's a democratization on how to do it. I think because there's that democratization of that information, people are going to be looking at it as now as a viable option. And three, I think it could potentially be a better place to put some money in, right? And the way I'm thinking about it is I'm not buying this to work in it long term, right? I'm not buying a job. I'm buying an asset. And when I'm buying that asset, I'm coming at it from a standpoint of, as soon as possible, I want to put someone into the business so that I can take a step out of the business, because
correct.
I rather make $30,000 a year doing nothing than making $100,000 a year doing everything.
I think it's just pride in itself. Like we have to have 100 pieces of the pie, and not, and that's where probably the thought process between the higher tier versus the mid tier is that we feel like we need everything. Well, you just need versus the higher tier level of thinking is that I just need 5 things that give me pretty much a small percentage, and that accumulates higher in my pie, and I get to do nothing as I work.
It also depends on how you look at the money that's coming in for the business. If you're living off the money in the business, to take that significant cut, right? Let's say 100 to 30K, you have to somehow make 70K disappear in expenses for living off of that money, right? So people that live in the business, and that business is what like they thrive off of. It's really hard to go backwards because you're literally cutting into, hey, I have a mortgage, I have a car payment, I have this. And you're like, I can't just make that disappear so that I can free up my time. And so in that way, they almost locked themselves into the business.
No, I agree with that. I guess just my mind going. I'm eyeing right now, so I'm eyeing a laundromat in San Francisco that's already structured to be like a non-attendant. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." And I think the sell asking price was 50K. And I'm like, "How do I do this?" And this is kind of intimidating.
Yeah. $50,000? Really? That's it?
Yeah, and I'm like surprised, and but that doesn't include inventory and all that, so haven't dug into it yet. But again,
Mm.
that's it. Just the business itself, and also the person's retiring, and the lease right now is up in this month. I think they're really pressing to sell.
So a couple of things that so I've looked into laundromats before, right? Do
Mhm.
you remember down the street from San Jose State
Yeah,
University over by Subway? So I
yeah.
was super close with him, and we talked about all the finances and stuff back when I was there, because I was like asking him, I was like, dude, you work this with your wife and your friend, and like you guys are in the business. And he was very, very gun ho about, we're not going to hire out. We need to live off this. Like they've locked themselves in. So a couple of things to look at when you're thinking of that property. So you're saying the business itself, it doesn't include any of the equipment, things like that.
No,
So
that was on the asking price. It said inventory is not included in asking price. So if I had really wanted to dig deep, it's like, hey, what's going on? But I think before we carry on, it's more of the, should I even do it? Because am I even ready to? And how do I need to get like a small business loan to do it?
Are you ever going to be
Is it
ready for it?
no, you're not. So that is a fear thing, fear of this. So I think right now is just me just, "Hey, can we talk? Let's just talk shop and just what's going on." And I'm interested in buying a business at some point, and I think that's my goal for this week is just to contact that person and kinda get the first no, like that no type of thing out of your way and just kind of desensitize yourself for that and making the process less intimidating.
Dude, drive down to San Jose State and talk to that guy. He'll talk to you.
He'll talk? Okay.
1,000%. Be like, hey, I'm thinking about buying one of these up in San Francisco. What do I need to know? And he'll sit down. Dude, go next door, buy him some boba. I'm serious. Like some of the things you're gonna have to think about, like a lot of the inventory, like the equipment costs, you either have to purchase it outright on a loan or you have to lease it, right? There's the maintenance that's associated with all of those products. A lot of it's cash based versus like credit based. And then what can you do for quick efficiency wins in order to increase the overall revenues so that you could automatically bring some value to that company? So when I was evaluating it, like I've looked at some of them. It's just, it's got to be your cup of tea of the type of business that you want to get your hands dirty in. And
I think as a laundromat, it's like it feels okay to start or a mailbox like what you're doing right now.
I'm going the mailbox route because it's significantly less capital.
But also, I
And
think you're in a position where you can do it because you did the research on you don't there's not a lot of in your area, and I feel as of right now in the Bay, there's a lot.
for that business model, I had a friend that was also
Mhm,
looking at this down in Southern California and it just seems too saturated.
mhm.
I mean, just I would look at BizBuy Sell, I think .com.
Yeah, it is.
Really scan through. Like I think
Yeah,
laundromats. The fear I have with laundromats specifically is I think it's too hyped on YouTube.
correct. That or like car washes and stuff like that. I just started it, so but I think it just practice makes perfect and me analyzing things. That's how I'm gonna approach it as an educational standpoint.
Mm.
Versus, "Oh, I'm gonna be gung ho, I'm gonna buy it." No, let's like I said, contact a person, let's get some details, why this, what's going on, and having that practice conversation.
You know what? Business I think is super interesting to optimize:
What?
grocery delivery routes.
Really?
So bread, Doritos, Goldfish, uh, Missions tortillas, all of those are independently owned routes that people have contracts
Duh.
with each company. That's why if you ever go to a grocery store in the morning, there's all these people stocking it, but like most of the time they're not in uniform. Most of the time they're like it's because it's an independent person that owns like 13 stores in the general area that like, yes, I do Mission tortillas just for these three Safeways, this one convenience store, and this one 7-Eleven. They own that route, like a newspaper route. And
Sweet, I gotta
but
look
it's
into
like
that.
all the way down the vertical. There's one bread company that owns a bunch of bread companies. So then if you get that route, you get all the bread companies. And then there's like literally I was talking to one woman the other day. She owns the Goldfish route. Like she is Goldfish lady, but she's bringing in like $70,000 a year to live off of from doing, I think it was 8 routes. Right. And so
So,
go ahead.
how do you find these people then for you? I think the trouble for me right now is how am I networking, and that's a
Wake
fear.
your ass up and go to the grocery store at 5 o'clock in the morning. And all of them are willing to talk to you. And half of them want to sell their
Have
shit.
you woken up and go to the grocery store for 5 o'clock in the morning?
Bro, after I went to the gym, I went to there to get some creamer and they were all sitting there stalking. I was like, hey, quick question. I see you guys here. I've seen some stuff on YouTube. Might if I ask you a question. They'll give you a card. They're willing to meet up with you in coffee, or they'll just talk to you right then and there.
It's the same thing about just pretty
Dude,
much getting up and just
hit the pavement. It works in every industry,
alright.
but I think it's
I'll add it to
fascinating.
my goal list.
Yeah, I think that one is super interesting from a software optimization standpoint because their systems are so broke. Like
Mhm.
that's one thing that's like in the back of my mind of like, there's a software play there. There's a really good software play there.
I saw a couple one in Sacramento was, vending machines still. Like, I know we talked about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
they're selling out routes too, so it's holy crap, like, interesting. I don't know, it's fun. It's a very fun game to start getting into.
I think vending machines are cool, except for the fact that you're like pushing Coca-Cola and candy bars on people, which can't do that.
No, I tried to look into it, but I'm just talking about the business, small business. Oh, I want to do one last question closing up. I know we're a bit over time on this one,
Yeah.
but do you think right now, because this happened starting in 2018, where this transition, what I noticed in the articles, 2018 was the start of it. Have we missed the ride?
No,
And
it's just getting
also,
started.
correct, I think so as well. But do you think people in our generation will go for the ride?
Or do you think Gen Zs are gonna pick it up? Is that the question?
I think Gen Zs might pick it up. Or do you think either or generation said, "I'm good, I'll pass," and then kinda go with the tech hype still?
Gen Z is in a better position to take advantage of it, probably because they have less commitments and responsibilities, right?
I also agree to that layer that their distrust already for higher education is kinda becoming known.
There's that part, but I think the bigger part is, I mean, for the most part, you and me are at the tail end of millennials, right?
Yeah,
The majority of millennials are a little bit older. They have mortgages, they have families, they have car payments, they have debt. They have all this stuff that prevents them from taking these chances on things because the risk is higher, right? Like I wouldn't be as bullish if I had 2 kids running around.
true.
So, I think our generation of millennials might just be in a different phase of their life where there's lifestyle circumstances that makes it a little bit difficult. Which means, yeah, I think Gen Z is kind of like teed up and ready to go. I mean, what the first Gen Z is maybe only 4 years out of college at this point. Like, how much trouble do they really get into?
Honestly,
Absolutely.